Good evening, everybody. We'd like to go ahead and start the District Board of Directors Monday, January 16th, 23 meeting. I'd like to call it to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Betty Brusky-Malik. Here. Kristen Kress.
Here.
Justin Feltz.
Here.
Richard Murden.
Here.
Gordon Shallow.
Here.
Charles Spargo.
Here.
Ari Vang.
Here.
Terry Whitmore.
Here.
Open meeting certification. This January 16th, 2023 meeting of Mid-State Technical College District Board of Directors and all other meetings of the board and or its committees is open to the public in compliance with state statutes. Notice this meeting has been sent to the news media and designated persons in an attempt to make the citizens of the Mid-State Technical College District aware of the time, place, and agenda of the meeting. Open forum. The open forum is at the option of the board chairperson, and ground rules have been established to ensure the orderly conduct of business. This is meeting of the district board open to the public and not a public hearing. Persons wishing to address the district board may make a statement as long as it pertains to a specific agenda item. Individuals should not expect to engage in discussion with the members of the district board. Do we have anybody here wishing to address the board? Okay, next we'll go ahead and we will look for an approval on the December 19th, 2022 board meeting minutes as shown in Exhibit A.
I'd make a motion to approve with the addition that Terry Whitmore was present also.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we will look for an approval on the consent agenda items, including payment of bills and payroll as shown in Exhibit B, contracted service agreements as shown in Exhibit K, and procurement of goods and services as shown in Exhibit L. Can I get a motion in a second?
So move.
Second.
Can I have a roll call, Angie?
Justin Feltz.
Yes.
Richard Murden.
Yes.
Gordon Shallow.
Yes.
Charles Spargo.
Yes.
Ari Vang.
Yes.
Terry Whitmore.
Yes.
Betty Brusky-Malik.
Yes.
Kristen Kress.
Yes. Chairperson's report. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. Linnea has asked to be excused. Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Today, Americans across the country celebrate the federal holiday honoring the life, work, and achievements of Dr. Martin Luther King, a great and influential American civil rights leader. He felt that everyone should have equal rights, the right to work and make an honest living, the right to vote, the right to a good education, and the right to use all public places. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a bill declaring that beginning in 1986, on the third Monday of every January, would be celebrated as a holiday known as Martin Luther King Day. Congress's intention was that the holiday serve as a time for Americans to reflect on the principles of racial equality and nonviolent social change espoused by Dr. King. During his lifetime, Dr. King sought to forge the common ground on which people from all walks of life could join together as equals to address important community issues. Service, he realized, was the great equalizer. As he once said, everyone can be great because everybody can serve. This last weekend in Madison was the Winter Boards Association and Legislative Seminar. Betty, Rick, and Chuck attended. Would anybody like to comment on the meeting?
Yes, I would. I won't, I'll send out my notes, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. I think the legislative visits went really well. There were a couple of surprises there for me. We didn't get to meet with Senator Patrick Testin. We met with his chief of staff. It was a positive meeting, but the next two were even better, stronger in my opinion. We met with Representative Alex Dahlman, who's a representative down in my end of the county.
And he was thankful that one of his constituents was there.
Yeah. I was very impressed with his support. He's actually on the Joint Finance Committee, and he's been assigned education. So this is right down his alley, and he's a very strong supporter because he has attended technical college. So, man, he was just begging for support to help him sell our story. He said he couldn't make commitments because he can't speak for the group, what do you call it,
The Joint Finance Committee or the
or the
caucus?
caucus. He couldn't speak for the caucus, but he would be a strong advocate for us. So that was very positive. The next surprise was meeting with Katrina Shanklin, and we've met with her before, and it was just a completely different perspective than I've seen her represent in the past. She's been very cool towards us. That's been my impression, and very pro University of Wisconsin. This time, it was like a different song completely. Very supportive of what we're doing, what we've done. Very impressed with the Ameta Center project and what we're doing there. Clearly, she cares about her businesses, and with the support that we got from the businesses in the area, she knows that this is an important topic. So she was also strongly in our court. So those were two things that were very nice to see. The other thing that I want to mention was the next day we had the membership meeting and then the board meeting following that. This is the first time that I've ever attended a board meeting. And Betty did a very fine job leading through that effort. There were a couple of difficult things. One was the discussion of the DBA budget for this next year. They're anticipating, projecting, asking for an 8% increase. And part of that's because there was no increase last year. They held off increasing dues because of the pandemic and the stress on everyone. So they've got to do a little catch up. They also lost the lease on their office, so they've got to move, and the new office space is more expensive than the last one, even though it's probably smaller. So there were a couple of things. There were two districts that were expressing concern, Lakeland and Western.
Lakeshore.
Lakeshore, I'm sorry. And Western. And it sounds like they have, especially with Lakeshore, difficulty supporting the District Boards Association as it is, let alone with the 8% budget increase. I spoke because I've been involved with another organization for 25 years that used lobbying to great effect. And you can't afford to not have someone there speaking on your behalf and bringing us information of what the legislator is doing. With this budget, they're going to be there pitching for us the increase in funds. We need that. But all other times, we also need their policy support. They're watching for what's happening to legislation in terms of the impact on technical college. So I spoke in support of that, trying to say, you guys, we can't leave the DBA behind because that would be like cutting our own throats. So those were the two key things. I guess I want to mention that the bylaws revision did pass, not without some good discussion, specifically about nominating board members from the floor. There was some concern about whether that ought to be allowed. That got into the weeds a little bit, but it passed as recommended. There were a couple of changes advised by the separate attorney that we had reviewing it, mostly minor in detail, but very good meeting. That concludes my report.
Well, I'll share the, so what we took to the legislators was a one-pager. This is developed by WTCS, so this is for all 16 colleges, what everyone was asking of all of the legislators. The first thing was an expansion of the pool for expand the talent pool for Wisconsin employers. And really, this was a pitch for an additional $75 million over the whole WTCS. And this would be non-designated funds. And our example was, or one of the examples we had was, this funding, our portion of that funding would allow us to look at in-demand programs such as CDL, which we don't have. So that was the first ask, was for that $75 million. The second ask was to to make college more affordable, and this was a $3 million ask for what's called OER, or Open Educational Resources, ebooks, knowing that the books for a lot of the programs can be more expensive than the tuition. So looking at developing more of those open educational resources, so asking for $3 million to support that. Reskill and Upskill Wisconsin current workforce, and this was asking for an additional $3.5 million. Again, this is across WTCS, and that's for WAT grants. And these are the type of grants that where we share costs with the grants with employers. So this has a direct effect on employers, and the $3.5 million is the amount that was overprescribed from the last round. One of the examples was we had a WAT grant application for, I'm going to get this wrong again, medical assistance, and it didn't get funded because they ran out of money. So this would allow to meet those needs as projected. Sustain WTCS innovation, and this was really directed at the system office. They've been unable, due to financial reasons, unable to fill 3 positions out of the 54 positions that they have. So they're looking for money to do that, and also to beef up their IT system and cybersecurity. And they were asking for less than $1 million for that. And then the last thing is transform financial aid to work for all students. And this was really talking about having Wisconsin mirror what's going on at the federal level in terms of simplifying the FAFSA application. And we really emphasized, and I think we got a lot of support for the fact that right now, one of the good pieces of information that was given, that across the system, the typical or mode student is a 30-year-old single mother. So with that in mind, think about the current system. You can't get any financial aid unless you're taking at least 6 credits. The restructuring of this would take that down to 3 credits. And one of the colleges gave examples of the type of unintended consequences that are happening right now. So it gave an example of a mother looking between their family and work, being able to take 1 class. So really she wants to take and can handle 1 class, but she would not get financial aid for that. So in order to afford that, they take a 2nd class, and in one case, the dual class load makes them suffer in both classes. So they do poorly in both classes. And the other scenario was they just don't go to that 2nd class either, fail that class. So some unintended consequences there, but all of the people we met with were very supportive of really all of these initiatives.
Okay, I think you covered quite well how our day at the Capitol went. Upcoming for DBA, our spring session is in Kenosha, April 20th to the 22nd at the Stella Hotel. And we will be covering effective governance. The summer one is July 20th to the 22nd, and it's at the Paper Valley, Fox Valley and Paper Valley in Appleton. And we're going to be understanding data. And then if you make any quarterly meetings, one that would be another good one to attend would be the Fall Legal Issues Seminar. That will be held in Waukesha, October 25th to the 28th. It will be a 3-day seminar. So I think they were kind of stressing, if you can attend 1 quarterly meeting, this past one was pretty well attended. I believe we had a lot of attendance from presidents, and the support from the presidents at our quarterly meetings is greatly appreciated. We had virtual attendance, which is nice too. So all in all, it was a very successful meeting.
Do you know what the attendance was? What was the total attendance?
71.
Okay.
71, and I'm not sure if that included the virtual, the 2 days, but
Okay.
71 in person, I believe. Staff, trustees, and presidents. So, thank you.
And a nice speech from, forget what his name, Kane. Kane
Yes.
from the Madison
Madison.
College.
Madison College, yeah.
Ambassador.
Talked, he's going through the cybersecurity program, but he's what was it, the ambassador of the
Yes,
year
of
or
the year.
something?
Yes.
For that college.
Nice young man, very young.
Yeah.
We didn't think he was 14, but that's what it is.
Everybody's looking younger and younger, aren't
It
they?
is, it is.
Okay, well, thank you, Betty and Rick and Chuck, for attending. Those very informative reports. Next, we have the ACCT National Legislative Summit, which is held February 5th to the 8th. Chuck and Betty plan to attend, along with Dr. Bobby Damrow and Dr. Mandy Lang. The Wisconsin delegation will meet with Baldwin and Johnson, Senators Baldwin and Johnson.
Not Van Orden?
We're working on the.
Yeah, the whole Wisconsin legislation will meet with these two, but we may have some individual meetings with
Okay.
the others.
Okay.
Mark your calendars. Our next meeting date is Monday, February 20th, 2023. We will meet in Stevens Point. Committee of the Whole will begin at 5 o'clock with the regular meeting to follow.
I'm going to be in Arizona or on my way or in Arizona for the next two meetings, but if needed, I can be available by phone or Google Meets or whatever it is.
Chuck?
Can we go with you?
He's not gonna take
That
it.
sounds
We're just taking
warm.
we're just taking the Chevy Volt this time.
Oh,
Not much room. I just bought a car top carrier today, a bag.
Oh, nice.
have fun.
Next, we'll move on to the President's Report with Dr. Shelley Mondyke.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. So I have a picture that I want to show you. So we have one of our custodial facilities team members that I believe it's his last day. He is retiring, and that is Mr. Michael Kinney. And I think we have Mike's picture. So he came to us just 5.5 years ago, but we have just been so pleased with Mike. And I know we tried to get him to come tonight, but just didn't want to do that. But just want to acknowledge him and just thank him for everything he's done at Mid-State.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe a round of applause, huh? For campus activities, January 6th was a big date for our Wisconsin Rapids campus. We hosted our 20th year of having the regional DECA competition here. And that involves, we had 13 different high schools in district and out of district, so over 400 students. And if you're not familiar, DECA is an international association around those industries of marketing, management, entrepreneurship and business, finance, hospitality, marketing, sales, and service. You can imagine all the setup. So many rooms are used. We have to set them up for the competitions. The staff just have it. They have it going on. They know exactly what to do. But the 20th year. So just wanted to say thank you to everybody. And I think what great exposure, right? To have those high school students be able to come to us. With the start of our spring semester, it's also a time that will be starting next week. With the start of our spring semester, it's time where we do our in-services for faculty, our full-time faculty and our part-time faculty. So this Wednesday, we have all of our full-time faculty coming back in, between 80 and 90 of them. They have a full day, but they're actually things going on this week for them to do as well, but we get them all together. They have kind of their own in-service. And then we started a few years ago under Deb's leadership for part-time faculty that they also get an in-service. And we offer those kind of 3-4 hours, 2 different times. We did one last week and there's one tonight going on. So just again, to kind of show you how we try to, just continue to support our faculty, both full-time and part-time, because we always talk about when you're teaching, the student doesn't know if you're full-time or part-time. They all need to have the same skills and the same support. So we're really trying to do that. From a community involvement, there was a Mid-State team, myself included, who visited the Marshfield Medical Center, their leadership staff, including their interim president, and we've been talking about some new innovative ideas of how we can partner with them. And more hopefully will come, but we really threw out a few different things. One could actually be where we would have some space in their entryway to really be able to let people know about our health programs and be able to try to let their current workforce be able to come back and get some additional skills. And so just a lot of conversation going on with them. So we'll see. We put a proposal on the table and we'll see where that goes. 2 times a year, I also host a one-day executive leadership team with these individuals and try to do that throughout our 8 counties. And last week, January 10th, we were at the Wisconsin Rapids Aquatic Center. So really try to do that off campus just to have our community be able to see us. Now, there wasn't a lot of people at the ice rink, I can say, last week, but it was nice to just get out and about. I think it's good, again, for community to see us. We had to rent that room and just really good. Also on that day, that was a very special morning before we went to the retreat. We were invited to Chet's Plumbing in Stevens Point, where we were presented a check in memory of Pete Laskowski, who was one of the co-owners of Chet's Plumbing, who had been killed in an automobile accident. Very tragic. Just a wonderful family. We got to meet his father, Chet, the other co-owner, his sister, Sherry, his wife, Jen. Just the tradition, the family, what they believe, amazing. They gave us a check to put towards the Ameta Center, and so they have become our 123rd organization, and definitely donated that in memory of Pete. Very supportive of our plumbing apprenticeship. That is what their business. Chet, who was the original owner, came through our program. Pete came through our program, and now their son is coming through our plumbing apprenticeship program. So just a really heartfelt time to meet that family. For WTCS updates and President Association activities, just a couple of items. So after the board meeting tonight, I will be traveling to Madison. So we have the WTCS State Board meeting tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow afternoon, we have a President's Association meeting. So I'll be in Madison tomorrow. And I believe that the things that we have on the agenda for the presidents is just to talk about operational budgets, what people are seeing as we're kind of going into those budget times. Also, really welcoming our new president at Gateway. Rita Raju is the new president, and she will be there. And so I'm excited to offer my support to her as well. So we'll definitely be traveling again this week. In closing, I just wanted to share a few thoughts as we go into the operational budget. This is kind of typically in January. I mentioned a little bit some of my philosophy or some of the things that guide me in the decision-making with budgets. So I just jotted a few things down. Next week is when the executive leadership team will be starting to meet with me. They have been collecting throughout the college needs and things that they would like to see in the operational budget. And so we get to spend a lot of time together. There's hours that are spent really over the next 4 months trying to put together a balanced budget for you. I have worked with Greg as always that first step to really kind of look at what are the budget assumptions going into next year, because we kind of have to know where we're at when we start making some decisions. So we've done that, and that really consists of looking at expenses and revenue. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a picture. For the revenue side of the house, there's not going to be much increases as far as revenue unless we are very fortunate through the governor's budget. So when we look at our revenue stream, we see that there may be a small amount of money coming in maybe for some of our investments that we have. Tuition, when you think of what the tuition the students pay, our WTCS State Board approves that tuition, you may recall, and typically that's a pretty minimal amount, typically about 1.5%, 1%. So again, not much revenue there. We talked a little bit in Madison last week, Betty, Rick, and Chuck and I and everybody, about what we're seeing in the system is that our head count, the number of people we serve, are going up. And that's a really good thing. I can tell you when I got the report last night, we're up about 17 to 20% right now. But when your head count goes up, that also equals increased operational costs. And our FTE, which is what we get paid from a state aid standpoint, is going down. Because what do we know? We know our students are taking less credits. So we're serving more, which increase our operational costs, but because they're taking less credits, we're getting less revenue. So that's a problem, as you would guess. So it's something that we're all looking at. We also had COVID, additional dollars the last couple of years, and those are all going away. Those are unavailable. So we had brought on additional staff, brought on some new services to be able to support those learners. So there's going to need to be some hard decisions as far as what services do we continue, what do we adjust. Just want to kind of tell you that I think operational budget's going to be a little challenging this year. Hopefully, we will not need to do a reduction of a number of staff, but I do need to tell you that it's likely that we may have to. Again, we'll try to keep that to a minimum, but just want to kind of say that that's a possibility. We've been very fortunate, if you recall, the last few years, we have not had to do that. I think just because of the great job that the executive leadership team does, but definitely something that we'll look at. If the governor would approve the $75 million that Rick had talked about, and the legislature would also approve that, that would mean for our first year, we would get a little bit under $900,000. That would really help in a lot of ways. But we also know probably going into the budget, we're going to have over a $2 million deficit starting out. Just because of when you think of, we want to make sure we give our employees a competitive salary increase. Just think of those normal costs that are going up. Our heating is going up, our steel is going up to serve our learners. So again, it's going to be harder to balance. But I'm optimistic that we have the people in the room to do that. But just wanted to let you know that I think we're going to be facing maybe a few tough decisions. And we'll make those with the students in mind. But also want to let you know that it's not about being idle and not being about keeping your head down and you don't continue to grow. Because that's when you do become stagnant. And over time, that will really affect the college as well. So there's going to be some new things we're going to put in the budget. Transfer is definitely going to be something that we need to support. But just wanted to let you know, there will be new things that are going to be added. But again, there may be some things that will be reduced or eliminated. So we will keep you all informed. But it's really the work of myself and the executive team now in the next few months. And then we will be bringing the full budget to you in May. Capital budget is also underway. You will be seeing that in March is where we typically bring the capital budget. Definitely the majority of capital budget will be going towards the Ameta Center, and we have planned for that. So capital budget will go probably a lot quicker from putting it together than operational budget. So questions or comments? Just wanted to give you kind of high level what we're looking at.
Well, just in terms of timing, you're going to have to create the budget based on what you see coming.
Yes.
Without knowing what the governor and the legislature, because they're not going to be done by the time we need to get done. So you'll have to put together a conservative package that we hope will have some additional revenue.
I will be getting out every crystal ball that they have to, but you're absolutely right, Chuck. I probably will load a little bit. And each month, I think the team will tell you that when I get a little more information, we always go back and go, okay, I think I feel a little more comfortable. Let's increase this a little bit more, or no, I have to take it down. There are so many estimations, even our FTE right now, and I know, Mandy, you and I will be spending some time. What is going to be our enrollment next year? You know that we had the goal this year to stabilize the enrollment, and I can tell you as of today, we are up in headcount, and we are up a little bit in FTE. We just turned that corner, which last week I would have told you we were down in FTE. What's it going to be next year? So again, we're still kind of on this, where are we going to be? What's our new trending? But I've got to pick that number because I have to tie tuition to it. So I've got to estimate what's the tuition number, what's the number of students, and then bringing in that state aid formula. But that's why I've got the great people in the room that help me make those decisions. And we've been pretty good the last few years. But this could be a year where I may ask you for some consideration of fund balance. I don't like to do that. I like to live within my means. But as Chuck will tell you, many times I've pointed out that the last 3 years we've been able to put a little bit in there, maybe for that rainy day. So we'll just see. You know, we want to keep our people. That's our biggest asset. But when 80% of your budget is personnel, there's only so much postage that you can cut, unfortunately. But we're gonna try to stay as healthy as we can. That would end my report, Kristen.
Thank you, Shelley. Move on to committee reports with the Finance and Infrastructure Committee with Gordon Shallow.
Thanks, Kristen. If I could get the board to pull out of their packet pages 29 through 32. The following information is for the fiscal year 2023, providing results processed through December 31st of 2022. If you could take page 29, Exhibit M. Notifications for October facilitate changes related to grants. These changes will increase the overall revenue by $53,593 and the expense budgets by $53,593. The general fund notifications are grant related, with the Meet Talent Development Grant being released from capital projects to general fund, as the equipment funds are a pass-through to the high schools and not to be recorded as college equipment. Any questions? Budgeted revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund equity, page 30, portrays our current budget by fund reflecting budget notifications just mentioned. Page 31, accrued revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund equity, portrays interim changes in fund equity at month end. For the 6 months ending December 31st, the general fund accrued revenues exceed accrued expenditures by $343,000, reflecting the differences due to timing of revenue inflows and expenditure outflows. The total expenditures for the general fund as compared to the budget is 45.2% under the 6 months completion rate of 50%. As of December 31st, the year-to-date revenues for all funds total $39.9 million. To date, 63.8% of the current revenue budget has been recognized or realized. As of December 31st, the year-to-date expenditure for all funds total $31.3 million to date. This represents 43.6% of the expenditure budget being expended. And the final item is page 32, cash and investments for month-end total $21.5 million. Unlike what we're going to be facing in the year to come, this year we look pretty good. We're on target or we're on track. So that's the good news, and we'll work extremely hard to make the upcoming year work in our favor as well. The next item I'd like to go into is the awarding of the request for proposal, and you'll have that on your desk as well. That is RFP 810, Help Desk Services. At your seat is a resolution for RFP number 810 and the scoring results recap. In accordance with Technical College System Administration Code 6.05, a Class 1 notice was published on November 24th in the board-designated newspaper. The RFP was publicly opened on December 16th at the Wisconsin Rapids campus. A team was assembled and each member individually scored the responses based on selection criteria of capabilities, experience, references, portfolio, resources, cost, and service level agreement. In committee, we discussed detailed information concerning the continued need for outsourced help desk services. A couple highlights from the committee: the help desk provides services 24/7, 365 days. Last year, over 2,200 tickets were created. 20% originated from outside the hours of 8 to 5, with 153 being created on Saturday or Sunday. Kristen was so kind to even come up with a cost per ticket. And we found it very reasonable for what we're paying for what we're receiving. And the recommendation of our committee to award the RFP 810 for the performance of work for the help desk services of Black Belt Help LLC in the amount of $208,350. We are satisfied with the services of Black Belt Help over the past 5 years, and they did provide the lowest cost. In that information that you have at your desk, you will see that Black Belt Help had the highest score as well as the lowest bid that was submitted. So we feel very confident with the 5 years that we've worked with them, having both the highest score and the lowest bid, that we should accept black belt for our desk services.
Where are they located out of?
Florida.
Florida? Doesn't really matter, but it's not India. Huh?
And the other one is Austin, Texas, so it's, neither of them are in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Or
I would make a motion to approve the resolution awarding the RFP help desk services for number 810 to award the contract to Black Belt Help LLC.
I'll second that.
Yes, please. Richard Murden,
Yes.
Gordon Shallow,
Yes?
Charles Spargo,
Yes.
Ari Vang,
Yes.
Terry Whitmore,
Yes.
Betty Brusky Malik,
Yes.
Justin Feltz,
Yes.
Kristen Kress.
Yes.
I suppose if we need anybody to follow up on that, Linnea could.
Being in Florida.
Yes, yes.
Caller.
Angie, do you need a motion on the treasurer's report?
No.
Okay.
We had two informational items. First is the budget development calendar for fiscal year 2024. The staff has kicked off the capital budget process on November 9th and currently collecting requests. The executive leadership team will be meeting to discuss, prioritize, and provide recommendations for capital items to the board at our March meeting. The operational budget is just beginning. You heard highlights of budget assumptions during the president's report. ELT members are meeting with the staff to receive information as it relates to next year's budget. Administration will be working with our committee to establish a special committee meeting in May for review of the draft budget. We will be presented the budget during the May board meeting. The public hearing will be held at the June board meeting. Upon approval, the effective date of the budget will be July 1st. The second informational item was an update from the Ameta Center Bids Awards. JF Findorf has completed the contracts and routed them to the contractors in Midstate for signatures. At this point, they are coming in. We have a ways to go till we get them all, but we hopefully will see them arrive here shortly. And there were a few items that we had no bids, and they'll be being taken care of in-house as well. That'll complete my report. Kristen?
Thank you, Gordy. Next, we'll move on to Academic and Student Services Committee with Ari Vang.
Okay. Good evening. In the WTCS, each program or similar program areas are required to have a program advisory committee to offer feedback and advise us of industry skills and curriculum needed. Twice a year, the board is provided with advisory committee membership list. You should have received one tonight, kind of colorful like this on your desk. Tonight, we review the program advisory committee members of the School of Applied Technology and the School of General Education. This is the first time we review the liberal arts program advisory committee list because they are new programs this fall. New and renewed members are highlighted in green, and the Liberal Arts Program Advisory Committee is the last one, or the last sheet on this packet here. And you will see it's all green because this is new. Over this past year, we have made substantial progress in adding new members and renewing members. There are 110 active members for programs in these academic schools. Of these members, 33 or 30% were added this year, and 21 or 19% were renewed. So that's awesome. We continue to need to focus on adding members from the Greater Adams community and those who represent the employee category. This will continue to be focused over the next year. In the fall, the advisory committee list for the other academic schools will be reviewed.
Thank you, Ari. If you remember, this had been a request for us to bring this forward to you all. Therefore, you could just see how this is really an active priority that the academic team does, working to make sure that we have people on our committees. I can tell you that it's so much improved from what we had done in the past. We're always searching and always adding because we know that these are the people that make us be the best that we can be.
Does anyone have questions?
How often did you say that these individuals meet?
Oh, I don't know about when they meet, but we are sharing this twice a year. They meet,
They meet once a semester, so twice a year.
Okay.
Yes. And then if there's a need that would come up, we can always call a meeting if somehow there's something that's come up in the industry and we want to get some input.
I'd need to see Metalco as a new industrial partner.
What did the green mean versus the white?
The green is new.
No.
Or renewed. Okay, thank you.
Sorry. We'll go ahead and move on to Human Resources and External Relations with Rick Murden.
We had no consent agenda items. We had a number of items talking about today being Martin Luther King Day. For the staff, you have a button at your place called Keep the Dream Alive to remember today and him. A number of different events coming up in terms of DEI. I think it's this week. Yeah, this week is the Joe Reed events, and what is there? Gosh, about 9 or 11
Seven.
different,
Seven.
seven different opportunities for that workshop again.
I was so happy, Rick. WAOW had us on this morning. I don't know if any of you had seen that, but they actually did interview Joseph Reed.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
And really
yes.
promoted these. I think Bobby had said, do we have over 130 people?
136, yeah.
That's a big deal.
He did this morning, didn't he? And remember, we had brought him for Wisconsin Rapids, and then we wanted to bring him to the other 3 campuses, so.
Yeah, I noted that on the radio. At least I cringed when they said, yeah, these workshops are at all 3 mid-state locations. But regardless. Also coming up is a panel on, see if I read my writing. Disadvantaged students, economically disadvantaged students. And this is going to be videotaped to be available to all. This is for staff and faculty. Also, somebody on that panel is certified in Bridges Out of Poverty training. Out of WISCOR, there's a student-led diversity group that is forming. And one of the mid-state students is the co-chair of that group, WTCS-wide group. There is an April 28th, 29th Wisconsin DEI conference in Stevens Point coming up. Lunch by the River is on June 6th, June 15th, and if you see at your place, it's going to highlight Juneteenth. For those of you that don't know what Juneteenth is, you can take a look at this. It was a couple years ago when I found out what it was after being 50 years old to learn what this is. So you can learn about that too. Also looking at participation in the Point Pride event. So a lot going on in DEI. And then at your place you have what is this called? Something for Everyone. All the different programs that are in there. Let's see, I think I've got the number. Yeah, over 65 unique offerings this spring. Does not include our AHA. What's that?
American Heart Association.
American Heart Association, okay. Basic first aid rotations, and there's been just a lot of interest in CPR and first aid with Damar Hamlin situation. So great to see that is available. Classes are continually added, so our website is the best way to stay up to date. The print catalog is available here. Example is the Joe Reed mental health sessions, which are not included in this catalog but are on the website. Try to be extremely responsive to the needs of our community and add classes whenever we can. We have 136 enrolled in the Joe Reed workshops. New location this semester is the Village Hive in Amherst. That's like a community bakery, right? Featured on page 6 of the catalog, we're offering a number of culinary classes, which we plan to bring as duplicate offerings in our teaching kitchen in the future.
And a wine basics workshop that includes wine and cheese tasting.
Okay.
Nice.
Do they have a beer and brat tasting, or
Maybe next time.
maybe next time? Okay. Continuing to offer free classes that are online, live, in person, and online, and they have scholarships available for those who need help. And then also wanted to cover, they have been busy putting together the GPR is general, what's P stand for? Public
General
revenue?
purpose revenue?
General purpose revenue, grants. Total of 10 different grants, 4 in the core industry groups, which include criminal justice, diesel, IT software, and IT cybersecurity. Also a completion grant, and what's interesting is some of the different focus areas of these grants. The completion grant focuses on closing equity gaps, focusing on economically disadvantaged students, single-parent students, and will include a parent support group. Some of these grants are looking at new technology, incorporating new technology into these programs to make them more realistic and more attractive to students, including virtual reality in the criminal justice grant application, as well as the diesel consortium application there. There's a career pathways accounting grant application, and that's again has a single parent focus in that one. There's a EMT career pathways grant proposal focusing on adult basic education students as well as ELL students. An advanced marketing grant application focusing on the Ameta Center. And the total for these 10 grants comes to $1.8 million, which is up over $500,000 from last year's application. And we were reminded that last year, even though initially we didn't get the full funding of the requested 1.5, through the various processes, we did end up getting a full 1.5 last year. So we look forward to good results in the coming. And I'm sure Bobby will cover any of the ones that that we get when we get them and share that with us. That's all I have.
Well, thank you, Rick. Committee of the Whole. Earlier this meeting, we met with a Committee of the Whole meeting. Dr. Mandy Lang shared information about jobs for the Future Student Success Model Guided Career Pathways. This model merges guided pathways and career pathways to provide colleges with strategies supporting student success and the completion in alignment with Wisconsin's 60 Forward Credential Attainment Goal. Discussion and action items. We're going to have Dr. Mandy Lane and Jackie Esselman come up with the K-12 annual report.
And is Carly Lee, is that Carly Hoyer Lee?
No.
No, that's a different one, okay.
Hello again, everyone. We are here to share a little bit more about our K-12 annual report, and Jackie is our Dean of Recruitment and Admissions and leads this area for the college, and really does a great job. You may remember from our dashboard that we were up in all of our K-12 metrics, and we exceeded all of the WTCS benchmarks for those metrics as well. So really another just great year for the team, and I'm going to let Jackie share that detail with you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. You all should have the K-12 annual report in front of you, so if you want to open up to page 2, I will kind of walk through what some of this means and some of the exciting things that we did last year. So Carly Lee is a new outreach coordinator that came on at the very, very tail end of 2020, June of 2020. So she took Morgan Anderson's place, and she's working with those regional high schools that you see listed there. Mo Simon has been with us for a few years now and working with her same high schools that she has been before. Below the team is just our dashboard, some metrics there. So you can see that we did increase our high school transition rate by 1%. Know that we're always 1 year behind when we talk about transitions. So this would be from the graduating class of 2021. And you'll see the current year number of dual credits awarded and then the value of those. So 841,478, which is an increase from the previous year and almost $1 million. So that's pretty great for our district high school students. Below that dashboard report there, you'll see some of our events. In previous reports, you may remember that each event was kind of called out with a synopsis of what each event was. I streamlined it a little bit so you could see the types of events that we do. Not all of them are directly related to admission, so they don't always offer an application. Some of them are more program exploration. Some of them are the high school competitions that you heard about earlier, like the DECA event or the Skills USA. All of those are a way that we get high school students on campus to see Midstate and just another way we can communicate with them. And then of course we do a number of events with high school staff as well so that we can build those relationships with them. We know that they're definitely some influencers for students to hear more information about Midstate. Probably one of the very special events that we did last year was our direct admission event. So maybe you remember our Adams Admit Day. That was a pilot in 2021. We expanded at the end of last year for our 2022 graduates. And we incorporated 9 district high schools, several of them being the alternative schools. We included Adams Friendship again, and we admitted 375 seniors. We did the same model that we did last year where we worked with our campus leadership, our campus deans in those regional campuses. We met them at their high school. We called them into their auditorium and we celebrated them. They were graduating. They were doing a milestone of their lives, and we wanted to help make them aware that we were there for them if they so chose, whether it be coming directly to us, taking a class with us over the summer, or maybe when they're home on winterim. Our doors are open. We have your application. You're admitted for the next 3 terms. Come talk to us. So we did that in the fall. And then in the spring, as our outreach coordinators worked through their office hours, they met with each of those students. And we had scheduled and met with 77 of them, so about 20%, and they were enrolled before their high school graduation. On May 6th, this is the best part. On May 6th, we called them to campus. We had them bused here for those that said, yes, I'm coming to Midstate, and we celebrated them again. Dr. Shelley Mondyke presented to them. They were strategically placed at tables with other students of their programs, with their faculty, with their academic deans that they would be within their programs. They got to tour campus, and if they hadn't scheduled their classes yet, they walked out with a class schedule because their advisors happened to be there too. You could see their faces as they walked into the gym. They're like, what are we doing here? Like, very nervous. By the end of it, you could tell that they felt very much more comfortable with us. They had smiles on their faces. They were excited to come in fall. And they even got some gift cards to our bookstore that Shelley allowed.
Kind of spontaneous that day.
Yeah.
We needed to get them some Midstate apparel, so.
And we awarded some scholarships there as well. So a great event, and we're continuing to grow that as well.
And we are seeing a higher transition rate for that group. So
Wonderful.
you see the 77, so we are at about 20%, which is higher than our regular transition rate. So definitely something that we want to look at continuing.
This is 77 of the 375? Okay. Do you guys have any idea where the other people decided to go to?
From the 2022, so we're continuing to work with graduates from 2022 this year. They may have gone a different route, they may have gone into the workforce. We're just starting our spring semester next week, so we're still working with those 2022 graduates.
So this 77 actually isn't even our final number yet.
Yeah, right.
It's an initial, we go the whole year. So, it'll be interesting to see where we end up for sure.
Okay, and then just following on page 3, just the dual credit information. This dashboard here just shows what's kind of reflected on that overall dashboard for dual credit. Again, just comparing numbers from last year. You'll see dual credit at the bottom of the page by high school. There are 2 new schools that we're working with this last year, Mauston and Wisconsin Dells. So they came to us to offer some classes that they can't get offered by their local technical colleges, mostly in the ag and natural resources area. Page 4, so the first 3 graphs I'm not going to go too much in detail with, but at our last administrator breakfast meeting, we shared a 3-year annual equity report that kind of just showed who our dual credit students were by gender and race. So those compare the last few years for you so you can see who are our dual credit students. Our overall transition rates by high school is on the bottom of page 4. So you can see by each high school, their percentage of transition. Just to call out, we did look at some data from the last 15 years, and within our local districts, we're seeing a 10% decline from the last 15 years. Projecting out for 5 years, we're seeing another 4% of a decline.
What was that in?
That's
Seniors.
for our K-12 district enrollment as a whole.
Yeah, enrollment, okay.
Yeah, so really it's declined over the last 15 years, about 10%, and it's projected to decline another 4% over the next 5 years. So, when we think about our transition rate, and we really focus on increasing that rate, the sheer number of students could still continue to go down because the overall enrollment within our high schools, within the area, right? That's our population and our demographic continues to go down. So that's just something that we take into consideration every year as we even look at budgets, because that's a piece that we look at when we look at our FTE.
You know what the relationship between, sorry, Benny,
No, it's okay, go ahead.
the relationship between dual credit uptake and transition rate? You know what I mean? My supposition is that the higher the greater the percentage of students that are taking dual credit, you're gonna, in that
transition
institution, you're gonna have a higher transition rate? Is that a?
We do have a really
correlation
good
there?
transition rate of our dual credit students compared to the other technical colleges. And then it'll be interesting to see as we start to do a few more liberal arts dual credit classes, if it'll stay that way. I think we've seen that with some other technical colleges, that as they do more of the general education dual credit, their transition rate actually goes down because those do have a better transferability. But I think we do, we also have to look at the high school teacher qualifications for those, so we don't have as many. But we do have a really good transition rate compared to other technical.
Do you know what it is right now with what's our, I know you say that you've told us this before, I want to say
Yeah.
it's over 50%.
It
with
is
dual
over
credit.
50%. Yeah, this year it's actually right around 70.
Wow, that's
Of
huge.
dual credit students?
That then come to mid-state.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's huge. So it's good.
yeah.
It's a good investment. People sometimes say,
Yes.
well, you don't get any to, all the work that they do, there is the return on investment. It's just,
Yeah.
you're not seeing it right away.
Tell me, which are the most popular dual credit courses? I mean, how many are there, or which ones are the most popular?
Business?
Yeah, that's hard to say. We have a lot in our trades area, our construction trades.
Okay.
Construction fundamentals is
Yep.
a very popular dual credit class. A lot of our business classes, it's really dependent on that school district and who's their teachers because of the teacher qualifications. So it's a little different to say which dual credit class is most popular. We do a lot of English composition classes, speech classes for gen eds, so.
Okay.
There's really classes in all of our
Everything?
different
They're all different.
schools.
Okay.
It is such a limiting factor, though, depending on the qualifications of the high school instructor, because they have to meet our accreditation standards. And that sometimes you do have a high school that maybe wants to offer something, but they don't have an instructor that's able to do it. I know that sometimes is a limitation. I mean, that could be the case possibly, I'm not sure why. A different technical college like Mauston and Wisconsin Dells, that's really nice to see us serving them. I'm thinking either They must not be offering dual credit in the course, or like you said, in the area that they want to have their students must have an interest, and maybe they don't, their technical college student doesn't offer as much dual credit or doesn't offer the dual credit in that area.
You guys heard about colleges or just any higher education dropping the SAT, ACT requirements?
Yeah, they, a lot of them have, a lot of them are evaluating whether or not they're going to bring that back after COVID. I think we're lucky in that we don't require that. And we look at a variety of things, like we do look at the ACT if they take, all of the juniors in Wisconsin take the
Right.
ACT. So we take that into consideration when it comes to course placement, but not admission to the college.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, continuing on to page 5 are just some Start College Now statistics. Completers of credentials, so nursing assistant, very popular one. EMT, our first nail tech high school student completed, so that 10-credit technical diploma just this last year. And then stainless steel welding completers also listed. Those shorter term credentials are very attainable for high school students to do through the Start College Now program. And then just a 3-year trend, 2020, 21, and 22 of Start College Now students, courses, and credits listed down at the bottom. One thing that we did so when we think of transition again, it's the graduates of 2021 coming to us in 2021, and that's what this report from a transition perspective is pointing out. So I wanted to pull in something that we started in that year called Senior Spotlights. So as our outreach coordinators, we're working with high school students and determining their programs and their plans and helping with scholarships. We asked them, why Midstate? Why did you choose Midstate? And I pulled in a couple for this report, but I do want to call attention to the middle one, Elliot. He just says, one of the many things I love about Midstate is how proactive they are with every student. As soon as I applied, I immediately felt like a student. The biggest resource that was provided to me was the office hours at SPASH. Having Miss Simon being available on a weekly basis was amazing to me. She was always so open, and I knew that I could count on her if I ever had any questions. Having the scholarship opportunities through Midstate is huge, and some of the scholarships are only available to incoming high school students. The number of resources available are incredible. I am thankful for that. So I just wanted to call attention to him, especially because a lot of the work that you see here in this annual report is because of the outreach coordinators, and they're very dedicated and very, very busy in our office hours at our high schools. So, and just concluding with some pictures that we've had from some of our previous events.
Fabulous.
Now this kid looks like he's in elementary.
Probably is in middle school.
Way to go. Go, Kate.
Jackie, you've done just a fabulous job. If you recall, this was really some intentional focus that we put together, and the outcomes, just amazing. Thank you.
Great work. Yes.
What are the two academies?
Yeah, so Adams Friendship actually started the Construction Trades Academy.
Okay.
So that's a combination of dual credit and Start College Now classes. We'll have our first graduate this year. It's a 2-year academy.
Yay.
And then Customer Relationship Professional. So a lot of the school districts have a few of those 4 courses within that technical diploma, and then we supplement it with the Start College Now classes. So 2 academies that we've launched last year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mandy and Jackie.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
With that, we'll go ahead and look for a motion and a second for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.